right now. A lot of Kenyans speaking on Twitter, some using the hashtag Kenya Kwisha, among other hashtags that are now trending after Deputy President William Ruto made public his running mate come August 9th. And I want to hear from our first guest already in studio, who is also very active in Azimio. He has been, here before he actually got officially, the ticket to run under Jubilee. But now he is here as a politician, and also he will introduce himself better. But of course, Fanya Mambo Kinuthia, which is now his official name. Karibu sana. How are you?
Sana, Anki, I'm happy to be here. And as you rightly put it, my name is Afanya Mambo Kinuthia. I am now the Jubilee Azimio candidate for Waithaka Ward. And we are happy. We are happy with the progress. We are happy with the strides our party is making. And I'm obviously most happy to be on the show this morning.
Thank you very much. I can see you also ensured that you had the color red popping on set today. And I know one of the reasons why we're seated here today is to understand, the political, power play here when it comes to the running mate, which has been also called a running mate headache for the longest time. We're looking at, IEBC giving deadlines now, and now different parties have come in to declare who then will be the running mate. We're still waiting on Azimio. Let's start with what plans you guys have in Azimio as far as the running mate is concerned. I know we're waiting for the official, declaration later today, but you are within that place, so let us know what is cooking, what are we looking at, if you're in a position in authority to share that with us this morning.
First and foremost, I'm very happy and pleased to inform everybody that yes, our Azimio party is planning to unveil its candidate today, and I will tell you what our candidate is not. Our candidate is not a thief. Our candidate is not a corrupt person. Our candidate is not someone who is facing court cases. Our candidate is not a coward. Our candidate is going to be someone who is responsible, a fighter for democracy, someone who has been involved in the affairs of this country, someone who has given sacrifice. So Azimio is going to avail a candidate who is not a stranger to Kenyans, and who is known for all the good things, not someone with court cases and all sorts of bad things. Okay. So Kenyans can look forward to the unveiling of a candidate who will be an excitement to everybody. And for sure, this will be an excitement to everybody.
I have seen the angle you have picked, of course, talking about the charge sheet of Mr. Gachagua that is now being, a talk of social media and the nation. And of course, we have seen hashtag Kenya Kwisha as well, also happening on social media. We'll take some time into that, charge sheet just to understand then what it means to Kenya. But let me still go back to Azimio. There's been an aspect of, the three names that were listed. And it's quite, it's not contentious really, I don't know which word to use, but there are people who hope that then, Honorable Raila Odinga might pick Martha Karua. And of course, we'll highlight a story where we have quite a number of members or, people allied to Azimio saying, then you have to choose a woman, give power to the woman. But also on the other side, we're looking at Kalonzo Musyoka, saying, if then I'm not picked as a running mate, as should, according to him and his allies, I might opt to, run for the presidential, position on my own. I do not know what you think or take of this.
I think, first and foremost, the reason Martha Karua is there on that list is not because she's a woman. It's because beyond being a woman, she's qualified. Remember, she's an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. Remember, she has been through a lot. Remember, she has been involved in the struggle for the democratic space that we have in this country. Okay. Remember that she has served as a Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs. So the name of Martha Karua on that list is not appearing merely because she's a woman. If the idea was to just get a woman, there are so many women in Kenya. All right. We are 50 million Kenyans, and close to 30 million of those people are women. So if the idea was just to have a woman for the sake of having a woman, I don't think the name would have been Martha Karua. I think the reason why Azimio la Umoja is the way it is because credentials matter. Credibility matters. All right. Who you are matters in Azimio. And that is why now they had to narrow down on those 3 names. The Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka is a qualified person as well. He has served as DP. He proved to be a very respectable DP to the late Mwai Kibaki.
Oh, when they were vice president.
Yes, may he rest in peace. DP Kalonzo did not give as much trouble as we have seen with our current one to his boss. He was quite respectful. He ran his duties well and so on and so forth. And then there's Peter Kenneth, who had a very good record as a CDF manager in his constituency. At some point, they used to pride as the people of his constituency and say, if you see a pothole in his constituency, then you can call and they'll have it fixed. So we have 3 credible names. We have 3 good giants, if I may call them. And any of them, whoever becomes the deputy president-elect, I think the others should support. Now, the words of Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka are quite unfortunate. They are unfortunate because then it means that it's like going into a football match and you've decided that you must win. And if you don't win, then the football match was not fair. I mean, we've all been watching football games, and sometimes the teams we support win, sometimes they do not win. But you cannot go into a football pitch believing that I must win, and if I don't win, then it is not fair. Then I'll go and have my own FIFA. I'll go and have my own organization for football. Is like now Ferdinand Omanyala. He's doing very well on the tracks. But he can't go into a race saying that if I don't win, then the race was not fair.
Fanya Mambo, let's take a look at where Kalonzo is coming from. He has been, with Raila Odinga in different other, elections. There were aspects of, we have been working here, we've been working there. There is a time you promised this, and there are promises in this line. Isn't this what he's trying to justify, perhaps, with his remarks?
I don't think so. Reason being, and I say this with a lot of respect to him because he's part of the party that I'm in. He's part of the Azimio coalition that I'm in. But 2013, he was the running mate for Raila Amolo Odinga. They never won the election. They tried again in 2017. They never won the election. Don't you think it's sometimes good to try maybe another running mate and see if they can deliver? Because, Anki, if you and I try something together and doesn't work, and we try again in the same formula. Sometimes they say insanity is doing the same thing the same time over and over again and expecting different results.
Yes.
I think it's a high time that we also tried someone different and see what the deliverables would be and see whether we can win this seat, because at the end of the day, it's about winning.
Okay.
And also, if he went independent, I mean, we have been seeing the opinion polls, and sometimes they don't fall too far from what is opinionated. Most of the times, they have a very critical, in fact, most of the times they are almost accurate.
All right.
We've been seeing he's been rating at around 3, 4, 5% if he was to run for president. So basically, if he went alone, then he would garner about 1 million or so votes. It would not make him president, it would not make him governor, it would not make him senator, it would not make him anything. I think the whole idea here is to be part of a team and to realize there comes a time when the interest of the team is more important than the interest of an individual.
All right.
And that was why all the others have said, even if we do not get this slot, we are going to support Azimio la Umoja and the candidate that they are going to pick. And having said that, it is the same Kalonzo Musyoka who told us he's not going to attend that interview.
Oh, yes.
And then later in the night, he attended. So if he says he's going to run independent, do not be 100% sure that he's going to run independent. It could be the same thing as just what he said about not appearing for the interview and then appearing. So let us just move forward. The announcement has to be made today. And whoever it is, mimi as Fanyamambo Kinuthia, hata kama ni huyo Kalonzo Musyoka, I will support the candidate. I'll campaign for the candidate because for us, we want to win all the seats we can win in this country. All
right. Now, of course, I want to shift this focus to like what you have just said, what we're expecting today, the 16th of 2022, which is the grand, how do we call this? Announcement by Raila Odinga on who his running mate will be. So, of course, ODM leader Raila Odinga is expected to announce his running mate today. That is Monday 16th at the Kenyatta International Conference Center, commonly known as KICC Nairobi. And this comes a day after his Kenya Kwanza rival, Deputy President William Ruto, announced Member of Parliament, that is Rigathi Gachagua, as his running mate on the August 9th race. There is this story that was compiled. I want to take a look on Odinga's running mate update this morning. Take a look.
In response to Ruto's big announcement on Sunday, ODM leader Raila Odinga has promised to unveil his running mate on Monday 16th at 11 a.m.
Nimeangalia hali ya anga na mimi nataka kuambia nyinyi kwamba nitatangaza kesho kule town KCC nitatangaza. Sawa sawa, asanteni sana.
The ODM leader also fired at his arch rival Ruto, faulting Ruto over his hustler versus dynasty narrative.
Anafikiri ati yeye ana ujuzi mingi zaidi. Ati ojo mambo ya hustler ati sijui dynasty. Dynasty gani? Dynasty anaweza kwenda kwa jela miaka 9. Wakati nilikuwa ndani ya jela isi alikuwa anaonyanya matipi ya mama yake.
Azimio leaders also reacted to Ruto's Gachagua option, openly disapproving of his appointment to deputize Ruto.
Na baba, sisi tunaangalia kikosi ambayo uko hapa nayo. Hawa watu sisi tunawaamini baba. Mmoja wao awe naibu wako. Tusiwe kama wale jamaa wengine, mwizi ameenda kutafuta pwaguzi. Sasa tiketi ni mwizi na pwaguzi. Mwizi na pwaguzi. Kama mulifikiria Ruto anaweza kumaliza hii nchi peke yake, sasa we imagine wakiwa wawili na Rigathi. Hii nchi itakuliwa mpaka iishe.
Leo tumeangaishwa wabunge wa Jubilee, wabunge wa UDA walikaa wakachagua mtu anaitwa Kindiki, lakini kagunduliwa hana bilioni 1 kwa account. Ndio sasa kama hana pesa jina yake ikatolewa ikawekwa Rigathi Gachagua. Azimio wewe,
ninaomba deputy president akuwe mama.
With inside reports saying that Gachagua's appointment has created a rift in the Kenya Kwanza camp, Odinga's decision on Monday will likely chart the final direction of this year's general elections. Waris Kimathi, Look Up TV.
All right, now from that story we have seen, still expecting, of course, Raila Odinga to let the whole world know who then will be his running mate. And of course, I'm here with Fanya Mambo Kinuthia. And from that particular story, Fanya Mambo, welcome back on set. We can see there, members of, Azimio still emphasizing mama, Chagua mama. If then, you have said within Azimio, you are anticipating that whichever the running mate would be, that it will still be a united party. However, what if this then would be a division point for Azimio? Would we be seeing, a vote split? Because you've mentioned what then would, Martha Karua be bringing on board? What would be Kalonzo bringing on board? Because politics is a power play. Are we seeing a problem here if then the votes are, if there's a split that might come in if the running mate is not as expected by certain allies?
I think the first thing we need to internalize as a people is the fact that we are interested in Kenya as a country.
Okay.
Sorry, not individuals. Mm-hmm. And out of the 3 candidates that are now poised to become DP, the question then becomes, it's not about really what you would benefit from as a person.
Okay.
Is what would be best for Kenya. I think this is where Azimio is.
All right.
Azimio has moved from the point of pleasing personalities to pleasing the nation. And we are more interested in the nation than we are interested in personalities.
Okay.
We would be happy if everybody stayed. But as Madam Charity Ngilu put it out yesterday during the rally at Kamukunji, if at some point one of the people will feel that they need to leave, we cannot hold them and we cannot keep them there by force. But for sure the decision that will be made with Kenya first, the interest of the nation first, bringing people together first, and then the interest of individuals as the least and the last of all considerations.
All right.
So it's not about who will be hurt. It's not about who will leave. It's not about who will feel that they were entitled. It's about what is best for Kenya. And you know the reason people choose a good DP is because you want someone who is also capable of being president. Someone who is capable of being president in any eventuality for any reason.
All right.
And that's why sometimes people are always warned, don't just go and pick the weakest DP. Don't go and pick someone just because you feel that you're happy about them. Pick someone who is capable of being president. That is what it means. Pick someone who is able to help the president. Pick someone who has a nice working camaraderie with the president. Someone who can work with the president to be. And I think right now, what matters is the country, not individuals.
All
a
right.
person can get angry and leave. It's okay. It's fine. And we don't care if someone leaves. We would be glad if they stayed, but we are not going to force anybody to stay.
Okay.
We will ask them to stay. We will request them to stay, but we will not keep them under lock and key.
All right. I remember the late Saitoti saying that there comes a time when the country will be bigger than any other individual.
The interests of a nation now are more important and bigger than any individual whatsoever.
All right.
Yes.
Now, as we are speaking, I want to hear your sentiments on, of course, DP choosing Mathira Member of Parliament Rigathi Gachagua as his running mate. And first, let me just highlight this story. Of course, this will be your own sentiments because every other leader has reacted on Twitter, some of which we'll also share. But besides their reactions, I'll also share with you my panelists' reactions on the now chosen running mate officially for Kenya Kwanza presidential, candidate DP William Ruto. But so far, who is this man Gachagua? If you had not gotten his profile, the Kenya Kwanza Alliance has named Mathira Member of Parliament Rigathi Gachagua as Deputy President William Ruto's presidential running mate in the upcoming general elections. And the decision was made after a 17-hour meeting that saw members of the coalition deliberate on the strategies they will use to clinch the country's top seat. But who is this man, Rigathi Gachagua? This story was compiled by Look Up TV. Take a look, and also we'll come into the reactions of the leaders, including the panelists on set. But first, who is this man, Gachagua? Take a look.
The Kenya Kwanza running mate candidate, my brother and friend, Rigathi Gachagua.
Born in 1965 in Ruguru village in Nyeri County, Rigathi Gachagua associates himself with the Mau Mau struggle for independence. The child of Mau Mau, as he describes himself, the Mathira Member of Parliament Rigathi Gachagua could just be an election away from becoming the president in waiting after he was chosen to be Ruto's running mate ahead of the August polls.
I'm honored by the responsibility and faith you have bestowed on me. You have bestowed upon me to be a running mate for the most defining election in Kenya's history.
Now, this man, Rigathi, on April 8th this year, Rigathi Gachagua, the heir of the late Nahashon Gachagua Reriani and late Martha Kirigo, made clear his ambitions to become the Mount Kenya kingpin. Gachagua, the serving member of parliament for Mathira constituency, now a running mate to the current Deputy President William Ruto, was thrust to leadership in 1989 when he was first picked to serve as an assistant secretary in the Ministry of Home Affairs and National Heritage. In 1990, Gachagua will be moved to the office of the president as a district officer cadet before being appointed as the personal assistant to the head of public service in 1991. Gachagua was appointed to a more political role after being named the district officer, one in charge of Kakamega district, before being moved to Ngarwa division in Laikipia district in 1997. In 2002, the year that marked the end of the 40-year KANU administration, Gachagua found himself working as President Uhuru Kenyatta's personal assistant when Uhuru made his first shot at the presidency on a KANU ticket, a role that he carried for 5 years. In 2017, Gachagua was first elected into office as Mathira Member of Parliament. He made a name for himself as being vocal and confrontational leader.
Na tungetaka kuambia wale wanakaa Nairobi wakingojea endorsement huko State House ati watapatiwa kura za Mount Kenya, wasahau. Hizi kura za Mount Kenya zinajipanga zenyewe vile mnaona. Mkutano ya baraza la mawaziri unaanza saa 2 mpaka saa 11. Huyu mzee akuzimia akienda mkutano saa 2, ikifika saa 5 amelala ama jalala.
Gachagwa's name has featured prominently in the discussions surrounding the running mate, and now he is the man that will deputize the current deputy president should he ascend to office come August 9th.
All right, now there you have it, and thank you very much, Brian Amwai, for making Kenyans understand really who is, of course, Member of Parliament Gachagua. And as far as everything is concerned, we're seeing him now as the official running mate for Deputy President William Ruto in the August 9th presidential election race. And of course, I'm having my other guests already on set just to make comments on the same. But first, let me hear from Fanya Mambo Kinuthia on the same. When you started this conversation, you said, unlike the other candidates, you know, your people are off, you know, any charges, because we will also be looking at the charge sheet of course, Gachagua shortly. But what would be your sentiments first on this declaration, and what does this mean to the country at large?
I think first and foremost, we need to think about what was said about the standard of fidelity.
Okay.
It's like the standard set for Julius Caesar's wife. That the conduct of the wife of Caesar must be beyond suspicion. When you find yourself you're a leader and you have cases upon cases upon cases on your neck, then there's a problem. Then we also look at the conversations. There are people who have made a name not because of what they do or because of who they are or what they have done for this country. You see, like Raila Amolo Odinga is known to have gone to detention, is known to have gone through a lot, is known to have fought, is known to have eaten tear gas, literally, if you were to use that word, for the sake of this nation. Unfortunately, Gachagua has made a name for himself by insulting others. And it's all on TV. It's on national TV. You know, there was a time when we, the people of the mountain, if you wanted to be elected, you just needed to come and look for a group of Kikuyus and tell them how Raila is bad and insult Raila, and you'd get very many votes. And that is the kind of deputy leader that we have now. Most of his statements have been anti-Raila statements. They have been statements that have been made to make him, to make Raila and His Excellency Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta look like horrible people in the eyes of the people. And that has made him popular. I wish he had been made popular by things he has done, initiatives he has done, like helping children's home, like paying bursary for people, like school fees, like building infrastructure. But when you make a name only on insulting other people, and then you become a deputy president-elect, we are thoroughly afraid because we know what you can say, but we do not know what you can do. I wish there was something we can point out to and say, this is what Nderitu Gachagua has done, or this is what he can do. But now we are at a point where we are looking at a guy, we do not know what he stands for. We do not know what he has done. We do not know what he can do. The only things we know he has done is when he was a DO. Another horrible story in Molo that people do not even want to remember, when he was a district officer. And these are facts on record. So we feel, and actually so many of my friends who used to be in that other side, they call Kenya Kwanza. For us, we have another name for it. And yesterday was their moving point. They told me, if this is our DP elect, I have changed allegiance. I'm waiting for the Azimio DP collect. If they choose a good person, then we are moving all of us to Azimio. Jana was a turning point for so many people, and I can tell you so many people left that movement because now you have an association of two people with horrible records at the top.
All right, and those, of course, are your sentiments. Thank you very much for sharing that. And we're still, of course, analyzing the situation. We're calling the running mate power, political power play. Of course, just to, of course, introduce Honorable Maloba Albert on set, who is the Youth 2022 Aspirant Nairobi County Chairman. Good morning, how are you?
Thank you so much. My name is Maloba. Thank you for having me. I think I've just come in when in the middle of the conversation.
Yes.
And we'll take it up from there. And yeah.
And of course, just as you have mentioned, and representing the youth, really, we want to understand what then, you know, your perspective would be and your sentiments would be after the declaration made yesterday by Deputy President William Ruto on just picking who his running mate is. Most people having the hashtag Kenya Kwisha, among others. Others, however, appreciating and congratulating the Member of Parliament for now the position that he has been picked for. But really, what are your sentiments? First, representing the youth, and even as Maloba this morning.
Okay, good. Maloba, first of all, I'll speak about myself that I've been in leadership positions, began with Moi University President and University's President's Council, and then the current people asked me to come and serve them in 2022 as their MCA. Apparently, we have an association of youth aspirants in Nairobi County where I'm the chairperson and the convener. I want to say this morning that you know, the politics of this country have taken a very different trajectory, mean that we never understand what really is in terms of leadership. Of course, you'll hear from people like John Maxwell, they speak about leadership is nothing but influence. And it has nothing to do with anything, but it's about influence. So at this level, I think on the same, we see the Kenya Kwanza side have picked on Gachagua, and the body languages from what I could see yesterday, I could see they were all, the people who were at that press conference, they were happy because of the appointment of Gachagua, based on influence. If I was to follow John Maxwell's word, the influence of somebody to bring numbers on the table. Okay. That is what people look at today. When we were to look at Professor Kindiki, of course, he brings in the diversity. He has an international presentability that could have made, if by in any case the Kenya Kwanza wins, he could have brought in, he could have come in that office with many things, education, integrity, and other issues. But I want also to agree with my brother here that, of course, we know Gachagua has served, he has a government experience. And when you look at his history, is as brief as my small finger. And I'll tell you that what he's riding on is nothing but influence. And to me, I think as a nation, we are not headed the right direction. And the youth of this country should wake up. We should try and look at how we can revolutionize our way of perceiving who are going to be our leaders. Because, of course, when you'll see even in our Azimio la Umoja, they will still go for somebody who has influence. Okay. They cannot bring in a deputy who will not bring in numbers. And that's where it ends at. And I'm a very great believer in people who have been... who have allowed such mentions of words that leadership is nothing but influence. And so that is where people are looking at as a country. Who can I bring on the table? Who will bring me numbers? And just before I conclude, you see, when you look at the Kenya Kwanza deputy, Gachagua, yes. I want to say that the Mount Kenya people have even sidelined the people of, they speak about having the Mount Kenya East in it, but they have actually literally been sidelining it. When you speak about the Mount Kenya, they are believing in their minds that it is about Nyeri, Murang'a, Kirinyaga, parts of Nakuru, Nairobi County, Kiambu, and that is Mount Kenya. But they leave out the larger end of Tharaka Nithi and the Meru and the Embu. So I want to say that if we were to play local politics well, I think this was a great time for Honorable Professor Kindiki. But as we see, Gachagua has come in, and it's about influence. Let's see what happens. And in Azimio la Umoja, we are also awaiting the big announcement today, I think, at 11.
All right, thank you very much. I don't know if you have something to add on that before I look at the legalities.
I think when he speaks about influence, he's totally lost it to some extent.
All right.
Because there was a time when influence was calculated on tribal numbers. What tribal numbers can you bring? So they were thinking that Gachagua is going to rake in the Kikuyu vote, if you are so to speak. But I think Azimio is making a calculation of some sort and saying there is an awakening, there is a realization of a new block of people who have cut themselves across tribes. And that new block of people is called women.
All right.
And people are listening. And that is why Martha Karua is one of the three options. because she stands a chance of bringing in 52%. In fact, every woman you speak to right now in the country is saying, I don't care if I'm Luo or Luya or Kisi or Maragoli or Masai. I don't care what tribe I'm in. But if Azimio did give this to a woman, I would vote, because then for the first time we would have a deputy woman president. And you saw what happened even in the United States of America. Having Kamala Harris there was a big thing. There's a constituency that is called women that said beyond tribe, we have something else that unites us all. And trust you me, if Azimio were to go that direction, if they chose Mother Karua, they would probably bring in a bigger constituency than anyone would imagine. They would probably bring in a whole 52% of this country. Because women have started having that thing of, I don't care whether she's Kikuyu or Maragoli or Kisii. I don't even care what language she speaks.
Maybe, my brother,
we are
I'll
women,
tell you this time
and we are
round,
ready for it.
This politics of the politics of 2022, when yesterday, because I deal with research and statistics, and we meet at some tables where we look at where are the right signals of what is going on in the political optics. And I'll tell you that by Kenya Kwanza picking on Gachagua, it immediately gave a turn point to Azimio la Umoja, and this politics, it was likely going to take a gender point of optic kind of politics. And I will tell you that even today, Azimio la Umoja is going to pick on a gentleman. The gender politics has totally lost the meaning, and it expired yesterday. So when you look, because looking at where we are, even our women have not come out strongly to call to pull shots for some of these senior executive positions in the government. They have not clearly marshaled up and said, I expected this morning that I will meet women in Nairobi, in CBD, around KICC, doing some mandamano, demanding that if it's not Martha Karua, then nothing else. You have seen
what if they're on their way there?
You see,
I don't think if they are on their way, because I know I have some people on the grassroots, and I know they have not organized that. And that could have led even to Raila Odinga today to have a hectic day, like when the 17 hours was spent at Karen. And so based on all this, what we are seeing on the big issue in terms of agenda and who's bringing in numbers and all that, today it's ending at influence. And you will likely to see maybe people like Peter Munya, they are back to the table. You are likely to see people like Peter Kenneth, who really does not have enough political muscles on the table. But of course, they will go for a gentleman, because we have a very little time to work around within the political timelines. You know, today we are at around 80-something days to election. So it is speaking a lot. There are many things that are speaking louder from the beginning, the genesis of the Kenya Kwanza direction to Azimio la Umoja. I'm
going to be coming to the legalities, and I do know for sure that you also have a background in the legal, fraternity. For a long time, I would speak to some of the, advocates that would say, so far Kenya has not been, governed in the most perfect legal, governments. We have not had women representation. And when you talk about still either of these two, big wigs, not considering women representation, where does this place, as a country? When we're speaking about having a deputy women president, even according to the law, we would want that kind of representation. But from what Maloba is saying, if this is not anticipated, what are we looking at as Kenya, even come August 9th, in terms of legality and representation?
I would say this. To start with, there was a huge challenge because IBC said that they would not receive a party nomination list whose members did not meet their third gender principle, which was met in a very interesting way, because political parties had already chosen people, and the people had not met their third gender rule. So we saw parties like UDA and the others, what they would do is they would look at all the other places they've not fielded people, and they would give names for women. So, like, you're a woman, you're disadvantaged, this is UDA, and you are given a ticket in Rongo. You're a woman, you're disadvantaged, this is ODM, and you're given a ticket in Bomet.
All right.
So just to make sure that the list that goes to IBC looks like that. But I've always said there's a need to change that article in the Constitution, not to remove it, but to change it, because they say that no party, no gender shall form more than a third of Parliament, for example. But then it also, the same constitution provides for equal representation and equal rights to vote. So if we all come and vote and say 99% of the people elected are men, what do you do? And they were voted democratically, and it was democratic. And the process followed was democratic. And do you come and then and tell constituency A, you wanted so and so, you voted for them overwhelmingly, we are going to throw them out and put in a woman because she's a woman. The way that part of the constitution should have read should have been something to the effect that in the event that not enough women are elected, then we are going, so that we have democracy, so that there is an opportunity for people to choose the leader that they want, and that leader becomes the leader who represents them. Right. So there is that challenge, and even now, as I said, in Kenya, in Azimio la Umoja, the reason we have Mother Karua as one of the options is not merely because she's a woman.
All right.
It is because she's so thoroughly qualified that there are so many other men who do not meet her qualifications. She is completely and totally and thoroughly qualified, and we are happy to say that.
All right.
And also when we look at our names, they are not tainted. They do not have corruption records. They are not horrible names. They are easy to sell names. Whichever candidate we get today as Azimio la Umoja, we will start campaigning tomorrow morning. We are ready, we are good to go, and we will stick together.
All right, talking about we will stick together, I'm coming back to you, Honorable Maloba. I want us to take a look at how different leaders reacted on social media as far as, you know, what happened at Kenya Kwanza is concerned. And of course, Kenyan leaders took to social media, especially on Twitter, to react to Gachagwa's nomination as Ruto's running mate. And of course, we sampled quite a few of this, of course, reactions on Twitter. And I just want to share some of them with you as we had earlier on. And of course, they'll be coming to your screen. Aaron Cheriot, who is the senator, Kericho County, took to his, of course, handle and shared saying, congratulations, a firm, resolute and principled leader, saying you bear the marks of struggle against impunity of our nation's captors, saying Kericho County supports you 100%. Now, of course, you can see there Aaron Cheriot also saying Kuzimia's choice of RM will now only determine one thing, the hour of loss, early morning or midday. Now, also, Honorable Kate Waruguru took to social media and said, congratulations, Rigathi Gachagua. Senator Kiprotich Arap Cherargei also took to his social media, and we saw there his tweet saying, congratulations, Ndugu, Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, Member of Parliament, Mathira constituency, for being nominated running mate to the 5th President of Kenya, Dr. William Samoei Arap Ruto. Pardon me. Now, you are now next Deputy President of Kenya and a leader in the Hustler Nation and Kenya Kwanza Alliance. Not forgetting, Honorable Didmas Barasa, also the Member of Parliament, Kimilili, did the same, took to social media and said, please accept my warm congratulations on your nominations as the next Deputy President of Kenya, or rather in the Kenya Kwanza government under the leadership of William Ruto. Now, we can see that different leaders across the country or in the country took to social media to congratulate, the Member of Parliament, that is Gachagua, on this nomination that we saw yesterday, as we continue to also follow up on Azimio, who then will be the running mate of Raila Odinga in Azimio. Now, that is, of course, set for today, the 16th of May there, 2022. Just looking at the running mate political power play this morning, I'm joined again by my other guest who has just made his way in studio, and we want to hear then his sentiments as we continue with this conversation. First, thank you very much for creating time. And I'd love you to, of course, introduce, give that introduction again to the viewers so they understand in what capacity you're here, besides being a practicing advocate and a political analyst. Karibu.
Well, my name is Peter Njagi, advocate of the High Court of Kenya and a political analyst, and of course a good friend of Look Up TV. Thank you.
Asante sana. Now, we've been talking about what this means to Kenya. We're looking at August 9th. This is a very, very big thing for our country. It's a whole nation. And the future of the nation is then set on the August 9 polls. So it is as critical as that is. We're looking at running mates now being picked. And Rigathi Gachagua's profile really is open to the public, that he has a number of charges. on him as we're speaking. We have a charge sheet that is now out to the public, including on July 26, 2020, Gachagua was charged with 6 counts, gentlemen, of corruption related to about 7.4 billion, among other things, including, the DO, kind of cases. And I'd love to hear from you. Let me start with you. What this means. He's mentioned an aspect of influence, which, of course, Honorable Fanya Mambo has disagreed with, saying it is a misguided approach. What this means to the country from your political analysis point of view?
Thank you for that very important question. I need to say that I don't hold brief for Gachagua, but I'm of the school of thought that the Bill of Rights, as read in Article 47 and 49, there is a presumption of innocence until one is pronounced guilty.
Okay.
And even if one is found guilty, you have also the right to exhaust all the avenues of appeal. And I think that's a matter before the courts. It's yet to be heard and determined.
Okay.
In a similar fashion, if you are to look at the charges as the only precursor for you to give that kind of impetus on the candidature, you have also to be informed of the dynamic duo of how they came to power. You also remember that they had even more grave charges at the ICC. And one of the thoughts that came about is that they should maybe step aside and clear their names, and we had the notion that choices have consequences, we'll have minimal contact, but they went ahead and won the day. So it's important maybe for the viewer and also for the electorate to consider that the hinge of our democracy is based on the people representation as found in Article 3 of the Constitution, because everybody has a capacity to seek elective posts, but it's electorate who choose amongst us who are able to get to those offices. So in as much as he has those charges, I think it also has to be informed that he's yet to be found culpable, and it's a matter before the courts. And also, as I move on swiftly, there has been a talk that some of the institutions that are supposed to be carrying out investigations and maybe conduct their mandate have been weaponized. And I think it is upon those institutions to redeem that particular perception. Recently, the Director of Public Prosecution made it very clear that he does not handle any matters pertaining any person seeking elective office, lest the impression that is given that if you've taken plea or you've been charged is to set up public scores.
Okay.
The institution like EACC, Ethics and Anti-Corruption, the DCI, Director of Criminal Investigations, Kenya Revenue Authority, and many other institutions, they may not be weaponized, but the impression that has been given out there is that they are used to set up political scores. So in as much as they may be doing their duty, it's also important that that image is redeemed and they are able to show us that indeed that kind of exercise is within the Constitution and the mandate that they're supposed to do.
All right, and of course, you have mentioned, now you have seen, gentlemen, the hashtag Kenya Kwisha on Twitter. I want to hear from, of course, Fanya Mambo. And as we are speaking, we have seen different leaders after being charged or, of course, allegedly, put on that pedestal of crime. Then Kenyans have been able to vote them into governorship positions. All this has been happening. Now, we have been talking about step aside, like you have said, the law would say, let us investigate you. But now we're seeing when you have these charges, we are actually nominating you into a different position of power. Really, I want to hear from you in that line, and even what you wanted to add on to what Honorable has said.
I think the problem that many advocates have and many lawyers have is this presumption of innocence thing. Because we want to speak about what the courts have decided about you. They forget that there is the court of public opinion. There is a court that sits on every street of this country. There is a court that sits in every matatu, in every bus, in every bar, in every corridor. And people have listened to cases about particular politicians. They have made decisions about those politicians. They have even made a ruling about those politicians. Kenyans have even sentenced those politicians. And that's why you see that after every 5 years, 70% of those people who were holding elective offices do not come back. Why? Because there's a court that is more senior than our corridors of justice, and that court is the court of public opinion. And in the court of public opinion, decisions have been made about specific leaders. I started by saying that Gachagua, unfortunately, has got no record of anything good he has done for this nation other than what he has said with his mouth. We have leaders who have been known to fight for this, leaders who have done this, leaders who have moved the nation in this direction, leaders who have taken tear gas, leaders who have done something for this country. Gachagua, other than his mouth, other than what we have heard him say on the top of vehicles, and most of that has been insulting other Kenyans, there's nothing new. You know, you can say this guy he helped us have a new constitution, this guy helped the country have this. There's nothing that Gachagua would stand on a pedestal and say, Mimi kama Gachagua, this is what I did for my country, Kenya. The only thing we know him for is the media. And it's actually the media that has gotten him there. He should be thanking the media for covering him every time he says very unprintable words on top of the roofs of vehicles about other people. And you know, that is not the kind of nation we want to build. We've gotten to a point where we are saying that we are going to reward those people who have made their mouth a weapon against the people we do not want. Azimio la Umoja means bringing people together. It means having people coming on the same table and trying to share ideas as a country. And we cannot continue as a nation, and I have to tell every other person out there, thinking that the person with the biggest mouth that stands out as a weapon against the people we do not want is the correct person. We have to change that narrative and start asking, for example, what has Martha Karua done for Kenya?
Okay.
It is in record. What has Peter Kenneth done when he was a leader? It's on record. What has Kalonzo Musyoka done for this country, even in the region, in terms of peace building and so on and so forth? You can remember the Sudan Peace Accord that almost went into shambles until Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka did something about it. So in not so many words, what I'm trying to say is that as a nation, we need to start looking at the track record of people and not the mouth record of people.
All right, let's hear from Honorable Maloba. Do you agree with, of course, Fanyamambo's Kinuthia sentiments? You seem to have something to really say.
Of course, I see he is busy campaigning for Honorable Martha Karua, which is not wrong. Everyone has a right to do so. But again, one thing from advocate that I've learned is, you know, they say when the law is not very clear, then there is no room for interpretation. And I think you will agree with me on that, that Kenya, as we are at the point we are, there is no room for interpretation of whoever is brought on the table as the running mate, whether you have a history of development agenda, you have a history. Of course, even if I was to ask him, if they could, if Kenya Kwanza could have maybe settled on Professor Kindiki, again, Azimio could still be fighting Kenya Kwanza, that you see now, these are the dirties of Professor Kindiki. One day, maybe as a deputy speaker in the parliament, he did not give me time to air out, you know, he's not, and this, and you know, all those things will come up. But where do we look ourselves as a youth? From my perspective as a youth aspirant leader in Nairobi County, what I call upon for amongst the youth aspirants, that let us, let's look at it differently. Let's try to make a kind of revolution whereby we are seeing things right in the eyes as we're supposed to look at them. Not from the perspective of whereby I'm a messenger of another person because I'm in a political party. I'll tell him that I've been in Jubilee Party, I was an aspirant of Jubilee Party, but in Karen Ward we were zoned. Yeah, I was disentangled, I went into very much stress and all that, and I was not communicated to. To a lawyer here will say that they did obtaining, which it's a very big charge because we did registration to be aspirants and all that. And then at the end of the day, no communication, nothing was made towards such a decision. So there are some failures that we have also faced in Azimio la Umoja, things that we are supposed to come to agreement and say that here we have been wrong, in Kenya they are wrong. And now where do we take a correct path as Kenyans? Not just being a political messenger on a political side, that because I'm in Azimio la Umoja, then there is nothing wrong in Azimio la Umoja that should come out of my mouth. When I'm in Kenya, there is, and I'll say this in a way that is very clear, that ever since I was personally even zoned out, I came to a realization that Kenya, vitu si vile unaziangalia.
Vitu si kwa ground,
vitu si vile ziko kwa ground.
Okay.
Yeah, so we should chart our own way, and I'll encourage him even as a youth. I see he's a great youth. I'm inspired by his wisdom on the table, and he should look at where he should really begin. Mimi hata hii Jubilee ambaye amekuja naye hapa, the jacket, I fought for that party when it was dead. Niliamsha, I spent my money in a ward to ensure that it's up. Yes. And I'll tell you, saizi tuamue kama vijana, tuchukue njia yenye itatupeleka mbele. See ati because I will be invited at State House and be given a transport back home, no.
All right, and I like how you're speaking about, self, orientation, principles and values, and of course that is coming out from you as a youth leader as well. Thank you very much. I know our time is running out, but I'd love to hear from the political analysts. We have heard all this. We're still waiting for Azimio to give us their running mate. But I'm looking at where we stand as a country from your political analysis. What does this mean, generally, for the August 9th, elections and, even the people we're looking at? First as the presidential candidates and the running mates. And this power play, I know it's going to be very difficult to summarize all this, but I know in your own expertise you can put this into perspective for the common Mwananchi, where we are at, what this means as far as the presidential candidates we're looking at and their preferred running mates for this country.
Thank you. Maybe if you may, I'll just use 1 minute in the right of reply to what my friend has mentioned about the court of public opinion. And I think as a civilized society, we must be informed that you have the right to meet your accuser, because we are a civilized society and a democratic society that is not run by a junta or a militia, so that the court of law is the only way to ventilate your issues, not the public court that is mentioned, because we must balance the interest of everybody.
All right.
And I think in as much as somebody may have a court case, that's a matter before the courts, and the courts will pronounce themselves. And I think, Mheshimiwa, maybe what we should be looking into as he seeks public office is the test applicable. Does it mean when you are charged, you should not seek public office, or does it mean it's upon being convicted? Because I think the court and the law is silent on the two spheres. Is it upon being charged, or is it upon such a conviction? In terms of what is happening on August 9, I think it's a defining moment for a great republic. And if you look at East Africa community, all the countries apart from Kenya and DRC have had a female vice president. And I wish to associate my sentiments with my good friend here who had talked about the candidature of one of the ladies in Azimio. I think that's for them to decide who they want to. But I think it would be in great stride if they elected a woman, or if they please, because it would show that also as a country we are moving forward towards the realization of the woman empowerment. In terms of the political sphere and the analysis, you look at the dynamics involved. And I think what informs the candidature of a deputy president is primarily what is espoused in Article 147 of the Constitution, which provides a principal assistant to the president. So the question of chemistry also matters. How do these people two sync? Because you have had instances of a deputy president seeking such an office, telling you, if I don't get elected, I'll bolt out. I think they've rocked the ship even before it moves from the dock. The other issue is about mobilization. I think those are spheres that any president with somebody who has grassroots mobilization and to bring something on the table. The Mount Kenya question is a big issue on the table, because it's a vote-rich basket, and if you look at the 11 counties that comprise the Mount Kenya block, which are not named in the interest of time, we are looking at 5 or 6 million votes or thereabout. So any formidable president would want such kind of a basket on their table. Last and not the least is the question in terms of diversity, because we're a diverse community, and we must be alive to the question of incorporating such kind of a candidature who will acceptable across the board. So I think there are interesting days ahead, and what you can do is just to hope for the best.
All right. It's actually said there are interesting days ahead, and because of time, just allow me to appreciate Nelson Wamalwa, who's watching from Kasarani. Anasema kiongozi ni Martha Karua. Yeah, that's a feedback we're of course receiving here, and is actually echoing it and saying, I'm tuned in from Kasarani. Kiongozi ni Martha Karua, running mate for Baba. He has already declared. So I don't know how many Kenyans are of the same opinion watching from back at home. And gentlemen, because of time, I might want to conclude this big conversation right now. But we're still looking forward to Azimio's nominations and who is going to be running mate of Raila Odinga. After which we hope to have this conversation again, if you allow me to have you again on set, to then analyze after the declaration or the nomination. We'll be seeing a presidential candidate and the running mates in that respective form. And then now we can analyze again further what next for August 9th polls and who could be the winning team as far as this is concerned. But thank you very much for creating time. Fanya Mambo Kinuthia, Mr. Maloba, and of course, thank you very much, sir, Njage, for making time to be here. Now, thank you for being part of the conversation and using the hashtag The Morning Drift. It's a beautiful Monday morning, and Look Up TV will be following closely on the Azimio La Umoja politics today at KICC. Will the women then will be at the KICC, as Maloba has, suggested or hoped he would see women, rallying and out there calling out for, Azimio to also pick on Martha Karua. And of course, as we've heard from our advocate and political analyst, it would be quite a stride even for the country if Azimio then considered Martha Karua as the running mate. But we do not know yet for sure. Let me know also what you expect at Look Up TV as we continue with the show. Coming up shortly is the Drip and Flex. Don't go too far away.